Hello, welcome back to our fourth class of Learning Basic English. In this class, we are going to primarily focus on our communication skills. Communication skills require your fluency in speech. Fluency comes with practice. So, we are going to practice speaking in every class. So, in the start of this class, we are going to start with speaking practice on today's topic is describe something you learned outside school. So you have to basically tell anything that you learned outside of school, a life lesson that you have learned with time. For example, if I have to tell what I learned outside of school is I learned that I need to be resilient. Resilience means to keep working again and again, to never stop with our failures. If you fail once or twice or thrice, you need to keep working more and more for that thing. So do not give up in your life and just keep working hard and harder and harder. So this is the lesson I learned outside of school. So think about what you learned outside of school. What is the one lesson that you learned outside of school from life, and try to speak on that topic for almost 3 minutes. This speaking practice will be very helpful for you in your everyday life, as well as if someone wants to give any IELTS or any other test, that would be very helpful for that as well. Moving on to what we have studied in our previous classes. So we have studied about subject verb agreement. If you want to know something about subject verb agreement or if you are not sure about subject verb agreement, or if you want to recall what was subject verb agreement, please visit our first lecture. Then we studied in our second class about auxiliary verbs and modal verbs. So auxiliary verbs are usually helping verbs. Helping verbs, for example, is, am, are, was, were, has, have, did. All of these are auxiliary verbs. The special cases of auxiliary verbs are called modal auxiliary verbs. So modal auxiliaries or modal verbs are the verbs that show us the special cases. If you want to recall modal verbs or you want to learn more about modal verbs, please visit our second lecture. In the third lecture, we studied about passive voice speech. Where do we use passive voice speech? How do we turn simple sentences or active sentences into passive voice speech? And what rules do we follow? How do we change present tense active voice into passive voice sentence? And how do we change past tense simple or active voice into passive voice speech? To know more about passive voice speech, please visit our third lecture. In today's lecture, we are going to study something about command verbs. Here in the picture, there are a lot of command words given. Try to read a few and think in your own mind. Can you understand what are these command words? Command words are also used in Urdu. For example, if we say in Urdu, तफसील से बताओ मुझे, or we say what happened, क्या हुआ है. अब what does not require the detail, लेकिन उसके मुकाबले में अगर हम कहें तफसील से बताओ मुझे क्या हुआ, so तफसील का मतलब है you understand कि you have to tell in detail. So this is how command words tell us how much answer is required from us. So let's start with the definition of command words. It says command words are instruction verbs used in questions or tasks to tell you what kind of answer is expected. Command words are the words that tell you how much answer is expected from you. Is the person asking you something asking you only one word answer, or the person is expecting one sentence answer, or the person is asking about only the detail, only the important things or the details. So these command words will tell you about that. For example, explain, compare, describe, explain in detail, explain briefly. So when these words, command words, show at the start of any question, try to identify the meaning of these command words and then try to answer according to that command verb. Next time, when in your question paper or anywhere someone asks you a question starting with the command verb, don't ask the person, how much should I tell? You should know yourself how much to answer when a specific command word is used. So let's see what different command verbs means. For example, the first is describe. Describe is used in our daily life and in a lot of situations. When the word describe is used, what does it mean? It means you have to say what something or someone is like. For example, for example, describe your hometown. So, if someone tells you to describe your hometown, the answer should include details of location, appearance, weather, or people, etc. Yes, so the next command word we are going to see today is explain. Again, explain is used in a lot of situations in our daily life as well. We want to know in detail what happened or what things are like. So we are more into detail oriented people. हमें जानने का शौक होता है तफसीलात कि हाँ पूरी बात बताओ what happened. So to ask that you'd use explain. Where do we use the word explain? If the question is explain something or explain how public transport is important in cities. So you have to give reasons or say how something works. For example, in this question, explain how public transport is important in cities. You should include causes or effects or purposes. For example, for public transport, you would tell why there is a need of public transport, why public transport is so important in Lahore, and then how public transport is helping people in Lahore, how their lives are becoming convenient in Lahore with the use of public transport. Moving on to our next command word, that's compare. So wherever we see the word compare used, it is used to show similarities or differences between two or more things. So when someone tells you to compare two things, that means obviously if there are some similarities or differences between these things, you have to identify that. For example, compare online learning and traditional classroom learning. So words, for example, whereas, similarly, yeah, on the other hand, you can use these words when the question starts with compare. So if there are some similarities, you can use the connectors like similarly, or you can say as well as. You can also use the word whereas. If there are differences, you can say on the other hand, or you can say alternatively. So these connectives can be used to make the speech more fluent. The next command word is summarize. Summarize mean to give a brief overview of the main points. So it means that you have to tell briefly just the key important facts or key important details and not all the small little minute details. So it says summarize the information in the graph. So you have to not include all the details, just the key trends or the facts. So remove all the extra details if you are asked to write summary, because in a summary what you do is you just squeeze it, you just make it shorter. So all the important details only, all the extra and small little minute details are skipped. The next topic for today's class is skimming and scanning. So skimming and scanning are strategies for reading. So skimming and scanning is used in the skill of reading. So reading can be done by two methods. There are different people who adopt different ways to read. But these two ways are used formally in different techniques and different times. For example, let's start with skimming. Where do we use skimming? So, skimming is actually reading quickly to get the main idea or general overview of a text. It's useful when you want to understand the gist without reading every word. So, if you want to know the whole of the text, if you want to have a look at the text and just know the important things only, just know the highlights of something or the gist of something, जब आपको उसका सिर्फ क्रक्स जानना होता है, when you want to know the crux only, you do skimming. So skimming is a bird eye view. ऊपर से देखेंगे ना जैसे, तो जो जो बस अहम अहम चीजें होंगी, you'll get to know that only. So that is called skimming. When to use skimming? Now let's see when can we use skimming. So when we have to decide if a text is useful. So after having first look, we would get to know, okay, is this text useful for me or is it not useful for me? Am I going to read it? Is it for my interest or is it for my use or is it not for my use? To get the main idea of an article, if you want to know the main idea of something, a knowledgeable thing that is written, so you do the skimming and you'd get instantly the idea, okay, what is the main idea of this thing. Have you ever skimmed through a text at a bookstall, standing at a bookstore when you are about to buy a new book? You have a plan to buy a new book and you are not able to decide which book to buy, and then you just pick up one book and then you would go through the first page, the back page, and you just skim through what is the story, what is the main theme of this book, and you'd get an idea, okay, am I going to buy this book or am I not going to buy this book? Is it of my interest or is it not of my interest? So this is where skimming comes. So how to skim? So you have to read the title, headings, and subheadings. You are not going to read the whole paragraph or the whole text. So next thing, read the first sentence of each paragraph. So the first sentence of each paragraph is, we know, topic sentence. So we read the topic sentence and we would get the idea of the whole article. Okay, this thing is about actually this. And these all things are included in this topic. Glance at any bold, italic, or highlighted words. So if there are any bold, italics, or highlighted words, have a look at that as well. What are the figures written? What are the highlighted words? What are the words written in all uppercase? Or what are the words written in highlighted text? That would be the important words. So by looking at that words, you'd get to know, okay, this text is of use or not use. Then look at pictures or graphs or captions if available. So if the pictures are available, have a look at the pictures or graphs or something and the descriptions given below the pictures or graphs. So look at those captions, they would help you decide as well. And ignore the minor details. Don't go for minor details like in the first line to last line you read all the words. No, that's not skimming. Okay, here's a text given. Just have a look at it quietly Okay, I have now moved to the next slide. Now, can you tell me what was the text about? Yes, think in your own mind. It was about white sharks. Do you think this text was of your use? I guess no. It was not of my use. I don't want to know about white sharks. I'm not interested in white sharks. So, having one look at this text, you'd get an idea, okay, am I going to read it or am I not going to read it? That's the point of skimming. Coming on to the next technique, that is scanning. So, what is scanning? Scanning is reading quickly to find specific information like a name, number, or keyword. So, scanning is when you read quickly but you are finding for one specific information. For example, if you are looking for one specific number, how large can be a white shark? So you'd just find for that numbers, any of the numbers in the text, and you'd read that information only very keenly and you'd get the answer most probably. So this is where scanning comes. So the next one is when to use scanning. To find dates, places, names, and figures. Yes, we know that because we can look for that easily. To locate answers in IELTS reading or listening. So while you're doing any of the listening or reading tests and you have a comprehension passage given and you have very less time to do that, to just find out the answers quickly and not going through the whole text and unnecessary details, you would just read the whole text and you would scan for the answers, look at the questions and scan for the answers and just write the answers. You are short in time, so manage your time effectively. Next is to check a timetable or list for a specific item. So if you have to find a specific item in a list or a timetable that where someone would be at this time, you'd just look at the timetable and you'd find that scan for that information. How to scan. So you know exactly what you are looking for, a keyword or phrase. Then move your eyes quickly down the page. Don't read everything, just look for that specific word. Then look for capital letters, numbers, or unique words. So you have to look for capitalization, bold words, or italics, or all uppercase letters, for example. That would be highlighted. So that would be the most probably the place where you'd find your answers. So once you find the section, slow down and read carefully. So once you think, here is my answer, then slow down and read very carefully all the text from there until you find the answer. Okay, so here are a few questions given. Let's have a look at these questions quietly. There are a few more questions. Okay, let's look at the text now. Can you find the answers quickly? The size of the lines, male lines and female lines, and their color, and then their habitat and their predators. So all the answers are given, and after just reading the title sentence of a paragraph, you'd get to know, okay, here is this answer, and you would just slow down and read it carefully, and you got your answers. This is how scanning is done. So you have to select while reading, either you are going to skim through the text or you are going to scan through the text. If you are running low on time and you have to find the answers of the text, you'd go for scanning. If you have to get a gist to get an idea of the whole text, you'd go for skimming. There are no questions given, but you have to tell the summary of something. So, to tell the summary, you would go for skimming of the text. Okay, the next section for today's class is pronunciation practice. The first word for today's pronunciation is different. It's different. It's not different. It's different. The next word is interest. Interest. The next word is several. Several. The next word is basically. Basically. It's not basically, it's basically. The next word is data. Data. The next word is video. Video. The next word is covered. Covered. Okay, let's study what's the idiom for today. The idiom for today is to bite the bullet. Biting the bullet means to do or accept something difficult or unpleasant, something that you don't want to do, but ultimately you have to do that thing, or accept something that you don't want to accept otherwise, but you have to now. So you can use it in a sentence like, I hate going to the dentist, but I suppose I'll just have to bite the bullet today. Try using this idiom in your own sentences and try to keep practicing this idiom in your daily life as well. This was all for our today's class. Thank you.